Welcome, everyone. I'm Patty Martell, supervising producer at CNBC and the host of Women in Wealth. This is an ongoing digital series where we dissect the biggest issues facing women in the corporate world and explore ways in which women can be smarter investors and entrepreneurs and take charge of their futures. We want to arm women with knowledge and insight from female money managers, experts, and business leaders to decode Wall Street jargon and open up the perceived boys club around money and business. Today's guest is Bertha Gonzalez Nieves, a former executive at Jose Cuervo, and since 2009, she's the spirit behind Casa, a small batch ultra premium tequila that she co-founded with Bob Pittman, the man behind MTV, and the CEO of iHeartMedia. Bertha, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Patty, I'm very excited to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation.
So let's talk about the stats. So tequila is one of the fastest growing spirits in the US. Americans will spend more than $13 billion on agave spirits this year. And by next year, it's poised to overtake vodka as the best selling spirit in the US, according to IWSR. That must make you very happy.
Well, definitely that category is living a historical moment. And I think it's really exciting to see how tequila continues to seduce palates, not only in the US market, but around the world. And I think that we continue to have so much runway in front of us to continue to tell the story of this extraordinary spirit that was born in Mexico.
So you co-founded the company in 2009 with Bob Pittman, like I just said. In the depths of the global recession, how did you get the company off the ground? And what was that conversation with Bob like?
Well, we didn't choose to build a company in the recession. That was the option that we had. So we lived within that reality. And we built our business plan with that reality in mind. I think that I remember when the first product that we produced is Casa Joven, which is a master blend of a Blanco tequila with a 3-year-old extra age tequila that's made for sipping and pairing with food. We wanted to convince the world of spirits that tequila can actually compete with whiskeys, with single malts, with cognacs, with any other sipping spirit. And we also wanted to prove that tequila can be paired with international cuisine. So our first product was at the highest echelon of in price of the spirits category, and we started selling in the middle of 2009. So I went out to the streets to sell our product, and many of the retailers that today I'm very proud to call my friends looked at me and said, "Well, your product is extraordinary. You speak great English, but we're in the middle of a recession, so I think you really have an uphill battle." And that recession enabled us to understand, to really hone in and further cement our values, our foundation, and our mission, and build the business in a time where it was a different reality. So I think that's encoded in our DNA on how we manage our business.
Berta, there are a lot of players in premium tequila. Yeah, people probably know Patron, Casa Noble, Clase Azul. How do you compete with them?
Well, I think altogether we make the category. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure, number one, that we are working for the tequila lover and that we truly expand the repertoire of tequila. So that when today, the way that the consumer interacts with categories is that they are explorers, and they have in their bars at home, they have a lot of different types of tequila. So we want to make sure that by expanding the repertoire, we bring truly unique quality, craftsmanship, and taste experiences so we can aspire to be part of that repertoire. So we compete through really exposing the true gift that Mexico has in terms of craftsmanship. And we became entrepreneurs to be innovators in that category. We believe that through innovation and quality and craftsmanship, we can actually continue to seduce the tequila lover and surprise them with new profiles, with new techniques, with new innovations, with new blends, so that we can continue not only to surprise and enamor the tequila lover, but we can also bring people from other categories into the tequila category and continue to build respect and admiration for agave spirits in general.
You have said that you're in the business of taste, not volume. How do you scale the company without compromising or still maintaining that same level of quality and that ultra premium experience that people expect?
So craftsmanship is one of our core pillars. For us, growth needs to really go hand in hand with us expanding our operation accordingly. So for the first 5 years, the only product that we brought to market is Casa Joven, which is our first product, which is a blend of a white tequila and a 3-year-old extra age tequila. And we focus very much on making sure that we could actually grow this particular product, continue to build a name for ourselves in the marketplace, and then really plan what we were going to do next. It's taken us, then we launched our second expression. To launch our third expression, it was 10 years after we had founded the company. So scaling the business is about scaling it with really solid ground. We really want to be a tequila house that has longevity. We want to make sure that this house can actually, is really not a trend, that is really a company that will have a place in the category for the long term. So for us, the scale has to be done with a lot of planning and with a lot of solid background so that we can actually grow and continue to deliver the same level of quality.
You're talking about the long game. And part of that is because it takes years for the agave plants to mature, right? You're talking like 10 years before you can start to, grow, cut down the plants, right?
Harvest
it. Thank you. But because of the demand, unprecedented demand and popularity of tequila over the last few years, that is putting pressure on Jalisco, the place, the town where the agave grows. Commodity prices are really high. How do you see, your long-term goals and strategies with these, these pressures in growing and harvesting?
Yeah. So we have the future of the category every day in mind. When we founded the company, we decided to be part of the tequila producers that are pushing the conversation of tequila production into the future by using the most modern and sustainable processes out there. We believe that not only processes for production, but also sustainable practices in the fields. And we think that the appellation of origin belongs to Mexico. And as producers, we're only going to be here in our lifetime, and then we're going to give the baton to the next generations. So we want to make sure that we give that baton to the next generations in the most advanced place, so that there's many generations after us that can dedicate their careers. If the people that are passionate about tequila, that they can dedicate their careers and continue, delivering this extraordinary spirit across the world while still protecting Mexico's land and principles. So that's really what we believe in, what we're focused on.
But what about the cost pressures, though, Marta? Bertha, sorry, excuse me. We're talking about agave prices being at record highs, right? Not only this year, but for several years. Like, that is going to put pressure on pricing. It's going to put pressure on margins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the price of agave, we've seen it just in my lifetime. We've seen agave shortages in multiple periods in time. So the challenge that we have today in the increase of the cost of agave is one, of course, very concerning point, but also post-pandemic, we are living in a supply chain crisis. Mm-hmm. So most every single item has increased price, from bottle to every single other item. So I think that the price is one factor, and the other factor is just making sure that we're really following the rules of our appellation of origin, so that we can continue to move forward into the future and managing those price and production constraints the best we can.
You talked about the supply chain. The economy is another thing. People are talking about a potential recession next year, a slowdown that could extend beyond the United States. What have you seen a change or a dip in demand?
So I think what we're experiencing today in the spirits industry in general is that we just came off of the year 2021, which was a historical year for the spirits industry in general, of how, we had a very complicated year, and people stopped spending their disposable income in travel and in fashion and in gasoline and all the other, in trips and so many other things. And for entertainment at home, people chose to buy high-end spirits because they're, because of the constraints of what we went through. So in comparison to 2021, the spirits industry is readjusting. In terms of the expectations of what's coming in next year, I think that we are preparing ourselves to be really careful. We have been able to deliver growth year over year since we founded the company. And we're going to be, as reserved and conservative as possible, so that we can continue to aspire to growth with real care and focus in the marketplace.
Let's talk about tequila as a brand, right? Because I think people still associate it with frat parties and body shots and the salt and the lime. But you're a marketing executive. That's kind of where you grew up in branding and marketing. How do you change the narrative that tequila is as complex as something like whiskey and wine?
Well, it all starts in the juice, right? Because our first product we produced on the label says sipping tequila. But of course, I can't be beside every bottle, telling people how to enjoy the product. But the product should, the product alone, the idea is that we deliver extraordinary quality with complex and balance and the richness that the agave plant has to offer. And make sure that when people actually try it, they decide that they want to sip and savor, that they want to go on a journey of taste. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that we do is focus on our tequilas, making sure that we're truly offering a very unique taste experience that people want to savor, that people want to sip on, so that we go away from the shots and go away from, some of the tactics that were used in the past. Number one. And then number two, I think people also want to enjoy and learn more about Mexico. So our culture is also very important when we're talking about tequila, and when we're talking mm-hmm. about how we enjoy tequila in Mexico, and we're talking about how we enjoy it with our family, with our friends, how it intertwines with our social fabric. So it's really important for us as we move into sipping and into like inviting people to think broader about our spirit, right? To really, that we have the same 250 years of experience that many other old categories. We have Mexico's craftsmanship, and then we have the richness in culture that Mexico has to offer. So the combination of all of that is something that we think that is really important. So to convince people to sip and savor.
Right. You're really weaving the craftsmanship and the history into the story, right? To elevate it so that people understand that it's not just, something that you would have had in college and, or associate even with like, with the big producers. I mean, you are really coming at it from like a niche kind of craft approach.
Yes, and we think that the consumer celebrates that. Mm-hmm. I think that people are definitely looking for these type of products. So it is a Mexican tradition, right, to drink tequila, and it's one that people all over the world love and enjoy. Mm-hmm. So it's now really showcasing the potential of the spirit, so that people can just bring tequila throughout their choices of spirits throughout their life. It's just not a rite of passage of a certain age. It's really a spirit that has a complexity, that quality, and that craftsmanship for it to be drunk in the most elegant pairing tables of the world, and in the most elegant celebrations. I think it's just the beauty of the spirit that can actually has that versatility.
You talk about the story of the brand, but you are really part of the story also, right? Like you are part of the brand. I think people care about their experiences. They care about what they are buying and where they're putting their money. And I think the fact that this company was co-founded and has a female CEO is also part of that. In a world, in not only spirits, but in Mexico, right? It's very male dominated. The spirits world is most leadership is male, and that is an area that you are breaking ground.
Well, I think definitely uh, for me, really, when I started early on in that category, I was so obsessed in going to the tequila industry that by the time I entered the industry, I realized and I looked around, I was like, oh, I didn't think about this. There's not a lot of women in the industry. And then early on,
But you were probably used to that, though, right? I mean, you spent many years at Jose Cuervo. You
yeah,
spent many years in at Booz Hamilton.
yeah. So by the time I entered the category for the first time, when I started in the tequila industry, I had not thought about, that there was not going to be any women in the industry. I didn't even think about it. I was so excited about going into the industry. And then I realized early on, and just what I still think today is that I want my place. I really want to define my potential, not through my gender. I want to define my potential as a professional in an industry. And I want to make sure that my work leads with that. And of course, I'm very proud to be a woman in the industry, but that's not really the only thing that defines my work. It's really the work itself. And that's really my focus. I think that there's room for women in any industry in the world. And I know it's not easy, but I think we need to continue to push forward so that the next generations of women, when they decide they want to go into the tequila industry, or they want to be mechanical engineers like my niece, women can go and take their careers where they would like to. And I think that's where the opportunity is. We need to push forward and continue to pave the way for all the generations behind us.
Yeah, but what is, I mean, can you talk a little bit about what your strategy is? I would imagine that you are probably in some situations where you are the only woman sometimes, the only woman of color, perhaps. How do you navigate that world?
But not, seeing myself as a minority, seeing myself as a professional. So, I mean, many occasions I am the only woman and I'm the only Mexican woman. I just, that's just a characteristic,
Have
It's
you
really,
always been that way?
I think it's been, taking more strength as you grow in your career. But I didn't want to see that as my obstacle. It's already so many obstacles in a professional career that I just wanted to make sure that I just left that on the side and focus on the work that needed to get done, because otherwise it does become something that could be very overwhelming. So that would be my advice for the women that are here with us today. Is really about our work, and then the characteristics that define where we come from, our gender, and any other characteristic. They are important, but what's gonna get your seat at the table is your work and your professionalism and what you're bringing to the table. I think people forget very fast when you have really thought leadership. People forget very fast gender and provenance and many other things, because then it all becomes about the discussion at point, the business in front, the opportunity or the challenge. And by focusing on that gave me more strength.
No, I think you're right. I think I had a similar experience because, I've been at CNBC for 11 years now. And, Wall Street is very male driven, right? Like, you look at banks and you see who the people that work there and the people that I talk to on a daily basis, it's mostly men. And I think it was over time as I kind of found my voice also, found my confidence, and navigated that space. And, as I kind of moved up and realized that, I have to manage, some of people expectations, guests, right? Sometimes you need to have conversations that aren't easy, but, that comes with experience. And also the pushback that comes with that. I had to make a decision, for example, not too long ago, like within the last year, and I made a decision that, somebody didn't like. And, he said to me, well, who made that decision? implying that like that wouldn't have come from me. And I had to say, well, I did, and that's what it is. But getting there, I think that takes maturity, right?
And it's
Yeah.
it's not a perfect science, right? It's
Yeah.
not like
Right.
like it's something that is just that's something that you just need to learn how to deal with on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not,
Mhm.
even with more confidence and more years of experience, right? It's something that you just have to get familiar on managing and get comfortable at managing it, so that then you can focus on other
Mhm.
things,
Right. And
right?
owning your
You're
voice.
going to have so many other areas for growth that should be one that you have to like, while it can be challenging, you just need to
Mhm.
make sure that you can manage it so you can actually continue to focus on the work that
Right.
you chose to do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the big seal of approval that you got, right? So you entered this market, a crowded market, right? Fair to say, premium tequila. But you got a huge seal of approval when Oprah named it one of her favorite things in 2017. What was that like? Like, you're a small producer, right? So then to be named onto her list, like, were you ready for that spike? Did you get a surge? Like, were you able to keep up?
Well, first of all, I was on my way to the airport and suddenly my phone was like burning. Like
You
I
had
was getting
no
calls from
idea
everyone.
no idea this was
No
happening.
idea. No idea.
Mhm.
And she was doing a fireside chat with Sheryl Sandberg when they were launching Facebook Live. And she mentioned suddenly they asked her like wine or spirits. And they said, oh, she said tequila. And then she started talking about, don't you want to know what my favorite tequila is? And she started going on about Casa Dragones Joven and how much she loved it. And we had no idea. And then that year we became one of Oprah's favorite things. And definitely, that seal of approval continues to mean the world to us, right? Because I think she is the quintessential entrepreneur, and she really
Mhm.
understands, how complex and hard it is. So
Mhm.
having had her put us on her list for multiple years for
Mhm.
different of our products, of course, has meant the world to us. Were we prepared for it? I guess we were.
Mhm.
You never know. It was, yeah, we were prepared, and
Mhm.
we made the best of it, and that really enabled us to get closer to the American consumer, without a doubt.
Have you met her?
Yes,
You
I
did.
have.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very proud to have met her.
And I saw that Martha Stewart also. It's she mentioned it. And she talked about drinking it and introducing it to her friends.
Yeah. So yeah, my co-founder Bob Pittman knew and has been friends with Martha for many years, and I had the opportunity to meet her in San Miguel de Allende. We were all together to
Mhm.
San Miguel de Allende, and since then, I have true admiration for her. She is the quintessential entrepreneur. She's one of
Mhm.
the smartest women in business that I have ever met, and someone that I have learned so much from. So yeah, Martha, I've met with her. I've spent time with her many times, and we continue to do things together. And I think she's truly an inspiration for everyone in my team.
What, you collaborate with Martha?
Yes, we do. We
Mhm.
so this summer she launched with Baccarat the
Mhm.
Martharita glasses,
Mhm.
and her recipe for the Martharita is made with Casa Dragones Blanco. So she held a Cinco de Mayo party in her home in Bedford, and then I saw her in El Paso last week, and so on. So she's definitely a champion of entrepreneurs, and we're very proud to be part of that. And
Mhm.
she loves tequila genuinely, like she genuinely loves Casa Dragones.
Well, speaking of, authenticity, I feel like, we're in an age of authenticity now where people are embracing their heritage and their roots. You're like a brand ambassador for Mexico, for Mexican culture.
Well, we sell Mexico
Mhm.
in what we do, and you see Mexico really having a strong foothold in the art world, right? In contemporary art, in film,
And
in
food.
architecture, in food, of
Mhm.
course, in drink. And
Mhm.
we want to be part of this generation of entrepreneurs that are really showcasing the sophistication, the elegance, and the craftsmanship of Mexico and everything we do. That Mexico that we grew up in and that we have in our hearts, and that we want the world to see. When you talk about tequila around the world, you ask someone to say 5 things about Mexico, tequila will be mentioned in one of those things most every time. And we want to make sure that we're one window into Mexico, that that people travel all over the world to go and experience. So in a way, we want them to showcase it through our product and through our craftsmanship.
You just talked about global interest in tequila. I was surprised to see that Germany is the largest market in Europe for tequila.
Yeah, I mean, the interest today in tequila around the world is real. The spirit is having a renaissance moment, not only in the US, and the interest continues to grow day over day, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting to see that people are really giving the seriousness to the spirit around the world, and the interest is there. So Germany and many other markets are really, tequila continues to be one of the most exciting categories in the spirits industry.
I know that George Clooney and Randy Gerber, they sold their brand not too long ago. Do you think he helped?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I think he really brought a lot of attention to the category. So I think that which is always celebrated. So absolutely, I do think that helped.
Let's talk about the symbolism of the name Dragones, because it has a history.
So we wanted to find a name. We want to be known in the tequila category as rebellious and independent producers that are really pushing the conversation of tequila production into the future and truly expanding the tequila repertoire through modern and sustainable and innovative production. So my business partner had a house in San Miguel that now the company owns, that it was in the archive of the state of Guanajuato, that it used to be the stables of this cavalry that masterminded the movement of Mexican independence in San Miguel de Allende. So we, learned much more history about this particular address, which is Recreo 16. And then we were convinced that, imagine like this cavalry that had the guts and the intelligence to do the first conspirational meeting to start the movement of independence in what, is Mexico today. So we love the meaning of that. And that's where the name Casa Dragones comes from, because we want to keep that fire going, and that fire for innovation, that fire for craftsmanship, and that fire for modern production. And that's where the inspiration comes from.
Well, I think there's an opportunity to expand the brand to Casa Dragonas. I think we do.
Well, Casa Dragones is plural for feminine and masculine. And there's a lot of dragonas in Casa Dragones, starting by me.
Well, let's end it there. Bertha, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing more about Casa Dragones. 30 minutes go by really fast. I feel like I could talk to you for a lot longer, but thank you very much. And that is it, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for inviting me. Ciao.